Hello, guys, and welcome to a brand new episode of the IT Varsity webinar. Now, today is a bit of a special one because I'm actually out of the country. I'm in the beautiful, beautiful island of Mauritius, which is a tiny little Indian Ocean island, and it's one of the most beautiful places in the world. One of the top tourist spots, beautiful waters, lovely for snorkeling, and just the loveliest weather. It's just amazing over here. So I'm staying actually at the northern part of Mauritius in the Grand Bay area. Although they don't pronounce it as Grand Bay here, they pronounce it more like a Rombe because of the French. And so this is where I'm now. Why am I here? I'm here because I'm of business. You know, it's been incredible here business-wise. There's a lot of support that I've been getting on my TikToks, and a lot of inquiries from people here in Mauritius that want to study at IT Varsity and study our courses, because there's a big drive here in Mauritius towards the digital, what you call the global gig economy, the IT freelancing economy. Because I mean, think about this, Mauritius. It's barely around the size of one of our cities in South Africa, maybe smaller than even Johannesburg, might be around the size of Durban, or maybe it's slightly bigger than Durban. And there isn't much in terms of the economy here. They don't have much farming. They haven't got space for much farming like we do, you know, hundreds of kilometers of farmland. They don't have that. They don't have animal farms. They don't have space for massive factories. So what are their options here? The options become very limited, or they were very limited maybe 3 decades ago. But today, because of the digital economy, young people can be still living in Mauritius, can be still working here, but for companies around the world. In fact, one of my contacts that I'm meeting here in Mauritius is a software developer in the Java space. He lives here in Mauritius. He's got a lovely island-style life here, but he's a serious Java software engineer, and he works for a company in South Africa and busy coding away. So that's the advantage of the gig economy, and it's something that I always, I'm a big proponent of people getting into that gig economy, because that's the way to go. That's the way that the world is going. I mean, if you look at Bangladesh, and I always use this as an example because it's such a good example. They have 600,000 IT freelancers. I mean, people that are living in Bangladesh but doing freelance work for companies around the world. Today, it doesn't mean that you live in Durban or you live in Umlazi or you live in Tembisa or in Cape Town, that you stuck to working for companies within a 10, 20 kilometer radius of you, or somewhere you have to go. You can be working across the world. And that's the great part about the digital nomad lifestyle. I mean, and we are not just talking it, we are living it, because my team is completely distributed. There's no IT Varsity offices anywhere. It's all remote. And we've got people in Durban, Johannesburg, Pretoria, Cape Town, and here I am in Mauritius. Technology has really changed everything. So I've got Talha here with me, and today we're going to be talking about travel, the digital nomad lifestyle and travel. Talha, how's it? How's things back in South Africa?
It's well the same. I don't know if I mean, I think some of our regular viewers would notice that I've stolen your your setup here while you're out of town. I've made myself quite comfortable here.
I can see you sitting in my spot. Enjoy it while I'm away.
Yeah. Cool. So, I mean, sorry about that. I think, we've spoken briefly about this before, about the gig economy and about it allows you to travel and work from anywhere. But I think in a previous conversation we've had, you mentioned that it isn't something that's possible, it's something that's necessary for an entrepreneur or for a techpreneur, someone who's working remotely. But we didn't really get into why exactly that is. So
yeah, so I think, it depends on the type of work you do. There's some people that are doing freelance work for companies where they just require to deliver a piece of work, maybe build an app or a website or a software solution, and the work is submitted, handshake happens, and that's it. And then that's the extent of the relationship. But I feel that aside from digital relationships, there needs to be at least the face-to-face meetings where possible, right? Let's take IT Varsity as an example. We are signing up training institutes here in Mauritius to be our resellers to the Mauritian market. I mean, these are colleges and institutes that have access to the Mauritian market. They understand the Mauritian market. They understand the people here. And for us, it's far more expedient to work through a Mauritian partner who knows the landscape rather than working on our own and trying to figure things out here. So that obviously, that's a no-brainer. But when it comes to dealing with people, I firmly believe, and I'm kind of old-fashioned like that. Look, we initiated the conversation with the potential partners here, and it was all done digitally. We were on Teams and WhatsApp and Zoom and all that. But this is the point where I felt it's high time I came, sat across the table, sat together, handshakes, breathing the same air, talking to each other and getting a good understanding. There's nothing better there.
Yeah.
So
look, I mean, I agree with you 100% on that. I mean, not to dumb down the technology and being able to meet with anyone from around the world on your phone and build up entire relationships like that. But it does have its limitations. And, I've personally experienced this myself. I mean, I've worked with people online for like over a year sometimes. And then I finally meet them and spend a few days working with them in person. And I start seeing them as a completely different person. You get to know them face to face. There's a lot more that goes into human communication and relationships that doesn't really work on a digital platform. It has its uses, definitely. I mean, but I don't think you can ever replace face-to-face conversations.
No, you can't. I mean, it builds trust. It shows a level of commitment. I mean, these partners here in Mauritius were impressed that I took the time out to fly all the way here and meet with them. So there's a lot of credibility and trust built up. So there really isn't a substitute. And yeah, we are so used to working with people digitally. 2 weeks back, I was in Cape Town, and I went to the Radio 786 offices. And although I've been dealing with them and for a good couple of months, and I met a colleague there who we've been working with for what, like 2.5, 3 years for the first time, and it was great. It was amazing to meet a person now in the flesh, so to say, and to just have a handshake, sit, and have a conversation together. So that's the one part. The one part is of travel is to establish these relationships. The other part, even if it's not for that, it's just that traveling is great for everyone. Traveling opens up your mind, and I keep saying this to young people. I keep saying this to everybody, that when you travel, it gives you perspective. You see what's going on in the world, and it gives you an appreciation for home. It gives you an appreciation for what you have. Otherwise, it's the same old. And I'll give you an example, right? When we landed here in Mauritius, I was really impressed at the hospitality and the friendliness of the people. I mean, one of the partners offered to pick us up from the airport, and it was quite a distance. It was actually an hour and a half almost drive from the airport to our hotel, but he was cool with that. And then to make things worse, our flight was delayed by about 1 hour, 20 minutes. So that
Oh,
made things even worse. But the guy was patient. He sat there at the airport, and he's a well-to-do guy. You know, he's not a
hmm.
he's got clearly better things to do. And so he picked us up, and we had a nice conversation in the car, and then he dropped us off, and it was close to midnight by the time he did. So I'm really impressed at the friendliness here, the smiling faces wherever you go is a bonjour. People are greeting you. It's really great. And then you see the country. Now I was here last in 1989. I was a kid, and it was such a undeveloped country. It was like little villages and these olden days cars. But now driving through, you feel like you're in Centon. It's so, in fact, better. If it's so developed, there's very posh buildings and auto dealers. Every big name car is here. So
Hmm.
it's quite great to see the country where it was in 1989 and where it is today. And instinctively, we as South Africans, this is the sad, funny part. We, we instinctively we think about load shedding schedules here
Right, right,
because we're
yeah.
so used to that nonsense at home, but they don't even know what that is. It doesn't even exist here. Maybe an occasional power failure, but they got a solid power grid here. So very interesting. Today we're actually heading off to Grand Bay to go and get a taste of the local culture and things like that. So it's very important to go out and get to meet people from different walks of life, different races, different languages, different religions,
Mhm.
and learn about each other. Because in South Africa, I feel we are just too insular. We just all sort of clicky. We keep to our little communities.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, hopefully we could change that over time. But yeah, I mean, a lot of people do say that whenever you travel, especially if you immerse yourself in the culture, you always bring a part of that back with you. You'll never be the same person after a trip like that. So it's in a way education. It's developing yourself as a person from what you're saying.
Yeah, and it's the best type of education because it's a real life. It builds you up. It really it tests you because things don't go as you planned. I mean, you can have the
Mhm.
best plans in travel, and then guaranteed things will go off the rails, and
Yeah, I
you
mean, a
have to
1 hour delay in your flight throws everything off, and there's absolutely nothing you can do about that.
exactly. And so it really it's character building. It's
Mhm.
something for me that is eye opening. I love culture. I love experiencing other cultures. And, that's why I like to travel to countries where there is a rich culture, where there is a diversity of cultures, where there's something interesting, something I can learn. I mean, don't put me into a big city where there's no culture. I mean, I don't know. Can't think of any examples offhand, but you know what I'm saying. I don't want to go to another
Mhm.
place that just bland, like where there's no culture. Here in Mauritius, the
Yeah.
one thing great is that it's very rich in culture, and it's very rich in not just rich but diverse. When that's the other thing when you travel, you tend to compare, right? We went Turkey last year, and then we came back to South Africa, and then now in Mauritius. I love Turkish culture. I love the Turks. But there's one thing that I couldn't get used to there, and that is that there isn't a diversity of people there. In South Africa, we used to the diversity. We used to
Yeah, yeah.
working with people of different races and different cultures. In Turkey, everyone is a Turk. Everyone looks like a Turk. Everyone speaks Turkish. 99% of the population are Muslims, and there's no real diversity there. So it's a very homogenous culture, a beautiful culture, no doubt. Beautiful culture, beautiful food, beautiful people, but it's so homogenous, and it just shows
Mhm.
how we in South Africa, we may have our problems now and again, but we've gotten used to it, we've gotten used to the Rainbow Nation
Yeah.
kind of thing. And I find a similar thing here in Mauritius also. There's a lot of different cultures here, and it's a kind of a melting pot, which is beautiful.
Okay. And I think that that appreciation you got for that South African Rainbow Nation culture, I don't think you would have gotten that same level of appreciation if it wasn't for the traveling. It was going out and seeing what other cultures are like. And then you think about life back home. And it really, you look at life through a different lens. You look at your own country, your own home through a completely different lens.
Yeah.
So I think for that reason alone, it's important. And going back to the previous statement you made about not just traveling to a bland city, I would think that has more to do with how you travel than where you travel. Because you could go to the most culturally rich place on earth, but if you go from the airport straight to your hotel, from the hotel to the restaurant and back, or just take a very touristic tour of the city, if that makes sense, and come back, you're not really going to pick up much of the actual living, breathing culture of the area you're in. So I would say it has to do with how you travel.
That's also true. I mean, so many people go to Turkey and just go to Istanbul and do the tours and leave. But
exactly,
we had the opportunity of attending a Turkish wedding and intermingling with the Turkish people in their homes, with their families, and that was amazing, right? I remember when I was in India. This was many years ago. I was in India, and we had the opportunity to do exactly that. See, we look for those opportunities to get with the people, and it was so fascinating. It was so amazing. We were invited into people's homes. We went into schools, and even we ended up in the tea plantations in South India. But then we came back to Mumbai, and suddenly everything was just bland and boring. We asked the hotel, where can we go? And they can go to Bollywood and look at the studios and the actors' houses. What? Why would you look at somebody's house? I mean, okay, do XYZ lives here or that? People actually do that. So I guess it's your taste in travel, right? It's what you look for. But then this brings me back. It brings me back to the digital nomad lifestyle, right? When you see technology is making everything possible, right? It's a good thing and a bad thing, because here I am in Mauritius, and yesterday pretty much the whole day I was caught up in meetings with people in South Africa, Zoom meetings and team meetings. But the great part is, thanks to tech, it is possible. Here you and I are talking. I mean, I'm speaking to you. I'm in Mauritius, you are in South Africa, in Durban, and we've got our audience here. We've got 22 people watching. Guys that are out there, tell us where you are. Put it in the comments and tell us which part of the world you are in. But the fact remains that here technology is bringing us together, and that's a miracle. For those of you who are starting out, even those of you who are in careers, consider the digital nomad lifestyle. Consider becoming a freelancer and opening up your horizons, because it's a beautiful life. It's just the freedom is everything. I mean, you ask people who are wealthy, what do you enjoy most about your wealth? Those that have the freedom will say, I enjoy the freedom. And then those that don't, that have wealth but no freedom, they're not happy. But the digital nomadic lifestyle, it gives you freedom, and technology enables that. What kind of things can you do, right? That's the other question. What kind of careers you can get into? And then, that just opens up so many things. We'll discuss that next week, right? Next week, we'll talk more about the digital nomadic lifestyle. But just for now, right? Web design, app development, software development, graphic design, copywriting, digital media creation, like video editing, content creation. content creators are making so much of money these days. It's crazy. I was listening to a podcast the other day where the guy makes $1.2 million a year. $1.2 million a year. Now the rand dollar exchange rate is 1:17, so that works out to about 20 to 22 million rands a year just out of his podcast, which is an hour a week. Incredible! There's incredible amounts of money to be made in in uh, in content creation, whether you become a YouTuber or a TikToker or podcaster, or you're on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn. There's tons of money to be made. And I personally am a content creator, although I don't do it for the money. I do it just for the imparting my knowledge, and I've got the businesses running, so that's a different thing. But it's part of what I do, and it's part of what I love,
Right.
just connecting with people all over the world. Can you read the comments? Can you see what where our audience is coming from?
Yeah,
Right now?
let me pull it up and see if we have any responses.
Oh, I don't do it.
But
Meantime, guys,
yeah. While we wait for that, I mean, I had some questions about the whole digital nomad lifestyle, and question number one would be affordability. So obviously, international travel is crazy expensive. I feel like, especially in the post-COVID world, prices really went up. So do you think people could have that same kind of cultural experiences, the same benefits of international travel, but traveling locally? Like, let's just say someone from Durban traveling to Johannesburg to submerge themselves and work there for a month or two, or in Cape Town, or even, I mean, not even one of the big cities, like a little town in the middle of the Karoo, some place where you'd never think to go normally. Do you think you could get that same experience and same benefits there?
Yeah, I mean, let's talk cost, right? Let's talk costings. And before I get there, I was about to say to the viewers, given the opportunity, which part of the world would you like to visit? I want to know that. But read out the answers. Let me know where everyone is from.
Okay, so well, Sneh is here. She says she's in KZN.
How's it, Snake?
We have someone from Pretoria.
Nice.
Cape Town is here also. Welcome in the Free State. Limpopo.
It's pronounced welcome, not welcome.
Welcome.
Limpopo
I need to travel
is one of my
more.
favorite provinces. Yeah.
Yeah.
Where else? That's it.
I think we still got some coming in. I'll read them out as they come through.
Okay, keep an eye out for the answers. Where would you like to visit most in the world? Okay, let's
we have quite a good question actually before we move on, and it's directly related to that. It says that a lot of us can relate, with the current financial landscape, traveling might not always be affordable. So how do you get around that? How do you get started with this without putting a hole in your pocket?
So, with anything that we spend money on, I mean, we always spend money on things that we prioritize, right? Things that we think are important. So some people will think nothing to go and buy a pair of sneakers for 2,000 and 3,000 rands, or to buy a device, maybe an iPhone for 25,000 rands. Unless you are really using it for work, you really don't need something that expensive. So what I'm doing is I'm really, I'm putting things into perspective here. That some things seem cheap, but they are really expensive, and they are depreciating assets, right? So that's the one thing. Now, if you take travel, I know in the post-COVID world things did get a bit expensive, but the prices have settled. Mm-hmm. Now let's take a trip to Turkey, for example. A single person traveling to Turkey for, say, 10 days. When I did that trip in this was just before COVID, this was 2019, but the prices are slightly different now. For 13,000 rands, you can go and have a 10-day trip in Turkey, including flights, accommodation, and breakfast, right? So add a couple of grand for that, say about $100 a day for a meal, and you've got your breakfast, lunch, and supper sorted out. The metro is very cheap there. Everything is internal transport. Food is cheap. So let's say 15,000 rands you're getting away. Now, for a person that's earning about 10, 12,000 rands a month, you just put away a grand a month. You just put away a grand a month, and instead of getting into debt, buying stuff, put that money away, and once a year go on a trip. If you want to go for a longer duration, you can actually make it cheaper by booking Airbnbs rather than staying at luxurious apartments and hotels. You can book a Airbnb or one of these backpackers inns where the real fun happens, right? Where you get to meet amazing people. So really, the question is travel expensive now? Looking at it like that, is travel expensive? Spending 25,000 rand on an iPad or spending 15,000 rands on a lifelong experience that no one can ever take away from you. What's your priorities? That's the big question.
I agree, and it also depends again on your intentions for traveling. It could be viewed as an investment if you want to go and learn from the culture, absorb as much as you can, and then come back a completely changed person. So
it is an investment. It's definitely an investment in yourself, but it's also an investment in your career also, because the idea behind IT Varsity was actually hatched during one of my travels when I was in India. When I went to India's IT capital, Bangalore, I saw the kind of education they're imparting there. I saw the kind of training they give their software developers, and I brought that concept to South Africa and I replicated that with IT Varsity. So there, you see, I made an investment in my future, and today there's hundreds, if not thousands, of people that are studying with us. And it all started off with one trip that I made to India, and I learned stuff there. What's going on in the comments?
So Karabo says that she likes traveling, but she'd be nervous traveling to somewhere where they don't speak English. So she'd go to somewhere like America first. Karabo, I have, and again, technology comes in so handy with like Google Translate. I know, at least when I was in school, the teachers always said that Google Translate was terrible and it gives you lots of spelling mistakes or grammatical errors. It's not like that anymore. I think when we were in Turkey, we survived off Google Translate. And you know what? We got by perfectly well. So technology comes to the rescue.
It also forced us to learn the language a bit, just the basic phrases to get around, which was a lovely opportunity also.
Absolutely, I think that plays a big part in absorbing that culture and getting properly submerged into everything.
Absolutely.
And Caitlin says that if she could travel anywhere in the world, it would be to Tokyo, Japan.
Oh wow! Okay.
I think as far as, that's an amazing and a beautiful place to go to. But I think when it comes to absorbing the culture, especially when it comes to work ethics, there's few places better than that. The Japanese are extremely thorough when it comes to work, almost to a fault at times. So there's a lot to learn from there.
A lovely experience. Any other responses?
Yeah, I think a lot of people are sharing where they would love to travel.
Let's hear it. I want to hear it.
Okay, we got Snitema has a big list. She has Thailand, Tokyo, New York, New Zealand, and the ultimate is Bora Bora.
Pora, where even is that? Next one.
Dimaketso says, I'm definitely traveling all over Africa in this lifetime.
Fantastic.
I'd
I'd like to do that
as
too.
well. Yeah. In January says, I would really love to travel to Ireland, Dublin.
Nice, nice.
Yeah.
Not a place I know much about, though.
Yeah. And then, Bashira says that she once met someone at the Vienna waterfront in Cape Town who was from Italy, and they were using Google Translate to get around.
Nice.
So you see, that's
nice.
People are doing it. It's possible.
So Bashira is getting the international experience just by being in Cape Town. That's great about Cape Town, right? You go to the Vienna, you hear so many different languages. It's really so cosmopolitan. Okay, time's up. We're gonna have to wrap it up now. But for those of you who are wondering, how do I get into this digital nomadic lifestyle, and how do I make a decent amount of money doing so? First of all, let me ask you, what do you think is a decent amount of money? 5,000, 6,000, 10,000 by being a freelancer? What if I told you there are people that earn over $100,000 a year, US dollars, freelancing? Over $100,000 a year freelancing. Now translate that, like I said earlier, um, into rands, and that's like 1.7 million rands a year. And next week, I'm going to give you some tips on how to get into the freelance economy and really do well, really take it by the horns and do well. Because I'm a freelancer. Although I run a business, I'm a digital nomad. So let's talk about that digital nomadic lifestyle next week. So invite your friends, invite your family, ask them to come and join us on this webinar here on the IT Varsity channel. And for those of you who know people who want to get into tech, tell them about IT Varsity, tell them about what we do. This is basically the core of it. We train people how to take advantage of that global gig economy and give yourself the opportunity to earn unlimited income. Thanks a lot, guys. Mr. Tal, thanks for joining me, and let's get together next week.
Yeah, thanks everyone who joined us today and took part in this conversation. I really enjoyed reading everyone's comments, and there was quite a few that came in after we stopped, so we'll definitely get to those later. But yeah, thank you so much for joining us, and yeah, we'll see you next week, same time.
Fantastic. Bye-bye, everyone.